your research sort of looks at, crossover to, say, consumer spending? Is it a similar sort of emotional way of doing stuff?
Oh, absolutely. It's absolutely emotional, consumer spending. We did this great study with the BBC where we teamed up with the Watchdog programme, and we invited people to go online and fill out a questionnaire about their psychological and emotional relationships with spending. And we got 109,000 people filled out that questionnaire. One of the things that I got, there's a lot came out of that data, but one of the things that I got very interested in was people's impulsive buying behaviour. This is you're near the shops and you decide, or you see something, I'll have that, or you just go out shopping for the fun of it and you end up buying loads more stuff than you really need. So we asked people a bunch of questions about their behaviours around impulsive buying. And we had a very interesting finding. The very interesting finding is that people who don't manage their emotions effectively are much more likely to be impulsive buyers. That's the first bit. And second, that people who are more sensitive to emotional pain and pleasure, there's ways we can measure that, are much more likely to be impulsive buyers. And what that really adds up to is a story, along with other research we've done, more qualitative research, that quite often what impulsive buying is about is it's being used by people as a kind of mood management. They're doing it to actually feel better. And there's a load of evidence that a lot of big money problems can be caused. Look, we have brute bad luck. Most important cause of having money problems is being poor. But beyond that, actually the way our relationships with our money can have a really big impact. So another thing that we did in the study was we developed a set of scales developed by my colleague Adrian Furnham that characterise people's relationship with money. And Adrian's 4 ways of characterising people's relationships with money are money as love, money as freedom, money as security, and money as power. And it turns out to be quite a useful way of characterising people's relationships with money. And it also turns out to be quite a good way of characterising their behaviours. It turns out that people who see money as about security are much less likely to have a range of financial problems. The money as power and money as love tend to be more, people are more likely to have problems associated with those. And there's gender differences as well. To some extent, money as power is a male disease. Money as love is a female disease, although you can find both amongst both genders. But perhaps the most important thing for me that comes out of all of that is that, and that's very much in common with traders and investors, is the comfortable lies that we tell ourselves. We, as human beings, we're very good at telling ourselves comforting lies to feel better about stuff. Now, in the case of banking and finance, a very nice example of that might be if we think about the most recent the big financial crisis, 2007, 2008. There's a lot of big financial institutions invested in subprime mortgages. It's not the only thing that was going on, but this isn't rocket science. Bankers know, it's one of the central things they know, there's this fairly fundamental relationship between risk and return. So if you're getting surprising levels of return, if you're making unusual levels of profit, then a really interesting question to ask yourself is, what are the unusual levels of risk that we're carrying and why aren't we seeing them? Instead, people told themselves stories about we've got really much better at managing risk and securitizing it, and we're playing all these mathematical tricks and we made the risk go away. Great example of a comforting lie. Of course, that really wasn't the case, as we saw, Big Star when the whole bubble burst. Similarly, for consumers, one of the ways in which people tell themselves comforting lies, they get themselves into debt, and they don't open any of the bills or any of the bank statements, because that would mean facing up to the financial pain of dealing with those. And that's quite analogous to, one of the things that a lot of traders told us about. The question we asked a lot was, what's it take to be a good trader? And one of the things that came back time and time again were two words: honesty and discipline. And what do they mean by honesty? They typically meant honesty with yourself about, not just when you've made a loss, your part in making the loss, but when you've made a big win, being really honest with yourself to examine the trade and say, was this because of my strategy, or did I just get lucky? So that ability to be ruthlessly honest with yourself and face the truth of the situation, regardless of the emotional discomfort it may cause you. And the other was discipline. The discipline to push past the difficult emotions it might cause you and stick to strategies, accept losses, and so on. So that ability to recognise when a trade has gone badly and you have to exit, and you have to crystallise the loss you've made and accept that loss and move on. For me, some of this was crystallised very nicely in an email I got from someone who had talked to me at one of these trade shows, and he was a retail investor. And he said, I feel I need to get counselling from someone or some coaching or something, he said, because I had this really, really big loss, he said, and I feel that I'm so emotional about it that I'm not able to trade properly. So what I need to do is have someone help me get past those emotions so I can win back the money I've lost. My advice to him was, don't ever trade again until you accept that money's gone forever. You can't win it back. It really has gone. By all means, at that point, think again about trading again, but you can't win it back. And I think that's a really important point for investors, is that you always have to say, I am where I am, because we have this big tendency to be loss averse. What does loss aversion mean? It means that we're prepared to take much bigger risks to avoid a loss than to make a gain. So whenever we're framing things as avoiding loss, then we tend to take very risky decisions.